Welcome to Buzzword. Hello and welcome to the first in the series of a new panel game, Buzzword.
Where we ask ridiculous questions and two teams of comics pump out answers like crude oil from the Exxon Valdez.
We're your hosts.
Chris and George.
I'm Chris.
And I'm George, and we've been predicted to be the top game show hosts of the 1990s.
By no less authority than David Icke. And we were once described in the Times as...
the accused. But that was a lifetime ago.
Tonight, panellists have to play a series of games scored orally by us.
To raise the stakes, we give the contestants an incongruous buzzword to sneak into each game. The most inventive sneakers get to play a bonus round.
For example, a challenge would be to get the buzzword fashionable into a question about Top Man.
So, Chris, who's on the game?
Well, George, hang on to your helmet, because we've got four of the best comics to hit the streets since the Eagle, the Beano, the Dandy and the Sunday Sport.
On our left, Hattie Hayridge and Pat Condell, and on our right, Joe Brand and Harry Hill.
And let's get straight on to our first game, Answer and Question, where we put the answer before the question, the cart before the horse, or in George Best's case, the drink before the game.
All you have to do is provide a suitable question to Chris's answers, but remember, at some point, you have to slip in your buzzword, which for this game is Spud.
And it's open to everyone, so fingers on buzzers, and away we go. And our first answer for you is Noddy Holder.
Joe.
Who was the man that every woman in the 70s least wanted to have sex with?
Good.
Pat.
What does Prince Charles keep next to his big ears holder?
Like it? Think about it.
Who, what, when, where, why, how?
Harry.
What was the name of Fred Dinage and Jack Hargreaves' follow-up show to How?
Actually correct. Well done, Harry. Pat.
What did Diana say when she heard that Charles was getting his end away?
And the next one is a dog with a trumpet.
Joe.
What's the best filling in Spud you like?
Pat.
Who starred in the movie Lassie the Jazz Years?
Oh, Harry.
Roy, who do you suppose has the talent to succeed you on Record Breakers?
Tasteful.
Spud.
Very good.
And very craftily slipped in. Very
Top marks
well
there. Very good. Jesse.
Pat.
What do Glaswegian hard men like English people to call them?
The next one is They Have Never Won.
When did a sack of spuds last win the World Cup?
Excellent, Hattie.
Top skills there from Hattie.
1966, I think the answer is.
That was Nobby Spud, wasn't it?
And he was chained to a mountain while vultures ate his liver.
Pat.
Whatever happened to Gerald Ratner?
And the next one is an electric chair.
Joe.
What you say to Russell Grant when he comes in and says, "Where should I sit?"
Harry.
What do you mean, what kind of chair is it, Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Okay, and finally, denial, anger, bitterness and acceptance.
Joe.
What are the names of James Whale's children?
6 points to Joe and Harry, but Pat and Hattie, completely ludicrous, gratuitous and unnecessary reference to Gerald Ratner, 8 points.
As for the use of the buzzword, I haven't seen spuds stuffed in like that by Hattie since I had lunch with Fergie. So, Hattie and Pat, you go through to the bonus round.
Have a listen to these bands and tell us the odd one out.
there's no odd one out. All these modern bands sound the same to me.
Yeah, I couldn't understand the words in the first one.
Well, actually, who was that, George?
That's Led Zeppelin, The Who, and Def Leppard.
Okay, any ideas?
Oh, the odd one, that was a Who, isn't it? Because they're the only ones who can spell.
And actually, it's wrong.
No.
It's wrong. Because it's Led Zeppelin, because they never released a single.
Oh, is it?
That's it.
Because the drummer of Led Zeppelin and of The Who are both dead, whereas the drummer of Def Leppard's only lost one arm. I could be wrong.
No, it's they never released a single.
No, Led Zeppelin released a single, but it was so boring, everyone thought it was a concept album, I think.
For that, we'll double your points.
Indeed we will. So,
Great.
Pat and Hattie have got 16 and Joe and Harry have got 6.
Excellent.
What?
On to our next game, Past Lives. Now, this is suggested by the film Dead Again, only it's far, far better because Kenneth Branagh isn't in it.
In under 45 seconds, our Fearless Four have to quiz us to find out who they were in a previous life, and I'll be giving them clues to help them on their way.
Your buzzword is kidneys.
And for our listeners at home and via our secret laser display board for our studio audience, we will now reveal who Joe and Harry were.
In their past life, Joe and Harry were Antony and Cleopatra.
Okay, you've got 45 seconds starting from now to ask us questions, you know.
Keep up.
Time's running out.
Were we Morecambe and Wise?
No, you weren't. You were a classic double act, though.
Couple of
Liver and bacon.
Actually,
Devil kidneys and a bit of broccoli.
good kidney. Oh, no need for that, no.
Kidney.
One of you might have known Johnny Dankworth very well.
Cleo Lane.
Oh,
Getting close.
no helping, audience. please.
Anthony and Cleopatra.
Well done. Very well played. And for our listeners and our studio audience, here is Pat and Hattie's previous identity.
In their past life, Pat and Hattie were Bill and Ben. Pat and Hattie, you've 45 seconds starting now.
I'll start you off with, you've never done a decent day's work in your life.
Are our kidneys still working?
They're not.
They're not, actually. I don't think they've ever had any
Okay.
kidneys.
You're banned in Sweden for homosexual overtones.
This has got to be something on the BBC, no
Four in
doubt.
ABBA, aren't there?
Keen on the weed.
You had something in common with Roy Hattersley.
We used to support the Sheffield Wednesday, and we were very fat and ate a lot.
The other interesting thing about Roy Hattersley.
Do we splutter?
There aren't any
You
other
do splutter a
interesting-
little bit, yes.
Oh, Bill and Ben?
Ben! Well done.
What about the scoring there, then?
Oh, well,
Pat and Hattie 500, I suppose, is it? And me and Harry on 7,
No,
maybe.
we're getting bitter. I'm going to give Pat and Hattie 8 and Joe and Harry 9.
And I must say, Joe and Harry slipped in kidneys with the skill of a surgeon, so they're through to the bonus round.
And what you've got to do here is you've got to guess who we were in a previous life, OK? And for our listeners and the studio audience, in their past life, Chris and George were the Carpenters. Off you go.
Are you a double act?
We weren't, really. Well, we were.
Were you a couple?
Bit of a sing-song double
Yeah,
act.
yeah.
Sing-song.
And I like to work with a bit of wood.
Yeah.
Good with wood.
Yeah.
Good with wood.
A sing-song double act with
We've
a bit of wood.
only
Just begun. Chisel out an answer here.
And,
Jesus and Mary.
Yeah.
No, not we enjoy hassling postmen
And trying to contact occupants of interplanetary craft.
Tell you, I'm feeling on top of the world, George.
I am
Feeling
as
amazing.
well. Hey, do you fancy mince pie?
No, I had a big lunch, honest.
Oh,
Any ideas yet? Who was it?
Top of the world.
Top of the world?
A singing.
Michael
Sort of
Palin.
looking down on creation. And there's no explanation.
Top of the world.
No explanation.
always there.
The only explanation
Edmund
I can find.
Hillary. And
And Sherpa Tenzing. It's so close.
Time's got to be running out soon. It's
Did one of you have anorexia?
Oh
Yes.
Bill Wyman and Mandy Smith.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to give it to them. Yes.
well, that's very good there, Anna, and you've got to double your points there for that round. So well done to Joe and Harry. Very good. Now, our next game is Nightmare Scenario. This is inspired by EastEnders, where the worst possible thing always happens in any given situation.
For example, if two characters on EastEnders are getting married, it's a law that one of them will not turn up, and Pat will have got drunk and moaned down the bridesmaids.
I'm going to give you an event, and you've got to give us the nightmare scenario, OK? So
And
here
your
we go.
buzzword is wrinkled.
OK, what's the nightmare scenario for a nativity play?
Cot death.
Cracking on, the next one is what's the nightmare scenario for the royal wedding?
It's discovered that none of the participants are even remotely related to each other.
What could possibly go wrong for the Harrods January sale?
No rich people getting trampled in the stampede, I would have thought. Oh, sorry, is that a bit lefty and socialist? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they hold it in July, and everyone has to queue up for 6 months.
How about you're a baby mink and you recognise your mother in one of the... Hang on. And she's reduced to clear.
OK,
You queue outside Dulce's by mistake, and you're behind Imelda Marcos.
I like it.
OK, and can we have predictions for the Olympic men's 100 metres?
You get it mixed up with the London Marathon and have to tell one half of the pantomime horse that they've got to go home. and the little children from the orphanage that they're not going to get their sunshine coach after all.
What could be worse? OK, and what's the nightmare scenario for an Apollo moon landing?
I think it's that the Germans get there first and put their towels down by the Sea of Tranquility. Socialist and racist at the same time.
I reckon Armstrong, in his panic, could have said, this is one giant man for leap, one man small for step kind.
Very good. And finally...
Your space buggy gets clamped and towed away to the Elephant and Castle.
OK, and finally, any bad vibes for the Oscars?
Yeah. Norman Wisdom is presented with the Grimsdale Award for his services to the industry. And instead of making an acceptance speech, he does his act for 2 hours.
Very good.
Joan Collins' new nose blows up. Michael Jackson's ear comes off. It's one of the weeks when Liz Taylor weighs 20 stone and she sits on Cher and makes her very wrinkled.
7 points to Joe and Harry, and Pat and Hattie 6 points.
OK, and for the bonus word, I'm afraid Pat and Hattie's use of rankled, and whereas Joe and Harry's use of wrinkled, twinkled. So, Joe and Harry, you play for a bonus.
Yeah, and for your bonus question, we've put wrinkled do-gooder Mother Teresa in our soundproof decompression chamber. Give us a tap, Teresa.
She's great, isn't she? Always a smile.
Now, in a moment, we're going to start sucking the air out of the chamber. You have... Fair enough, Derek Beatty's done it. You have to answer a simple question before the pressure decreases to the point where she explodes. Now, let's start sucking the air out. Now, Joe and Harry, here's the question. If it takes 4 men...
Oh, dear. Well, never mind. Let's have a quick glance at who's on the advance.
Well, there's no bonus there, so Pat and Hattie have got 30, and Joe and Harry slightly ahead with 31. Now, our next round is celebrity abuse, where we play each team a clip of a personality being abused, and you have to tell us what's going on and whether Frank Boff is involved.
The buzzword here is ostensibly.
Joe and Harry, here's your clip.
We accept the judgment of the Peacock Committee that the BBC should not be financed through advertising, and that for the time being the licence fee should remain the principal source of income.
Well, what was going on there, Joe and Harry?
We think it's Douglas Hurd visiting his old friend Norman Lamont.
At his old address.
Ostensibly.
Perfect answer there, wasn't it? Perfect.
And Pat and Hattie, here's your clip.
I never smoked a cigarette. I didn't, I had a very straight childhood. I never had a drink till I was 22. I never smoked a cigarette. I didn't do that.
Oh, that's a tricky one. Pat and Hattie, what do you make of that?
He's never smoked a cigarette, he said.
Yes?
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton. That's Bill Clinton wondering why he's in an iron lung, I would think.
That's exactly what I've got on the card.
Ostensibly.
Correct.
OK, and I'll score that by giving both teams 7 points, I think, there, George.
All right, and Pat and Hattie, the finest use of ostensibly since Emlyn Hughes left a question of sport. So you're through to the bonus round.
Right, and what you've got to do here is you've played Celebrity Abuse. Now, for your bonus points, it's time to play Celebrity It's a Knockout. Where you get to ad-lib a conversation with boxer Chris Eubank. Now, should you upset Chris in any way, he'll twat you, OK? So, away we go, and for your conversation, OK, Pat and Hattie, you've got to start with the sentence, don't you think achieving world peace is very difficult? Off you go.
Don't you think achieving world peace is very difficult, Chris, love?
The most difficult thing one can do is stand still. Just stand up with your hands at your side and not move your fingers and just stand still is a very difficult thing to do.
Yes, especially when you're driving a Range Rover, eh, Chris?
I'm soaked now, Chris, thanks.
If you call me a name or you say something about my mother, you're only giving me more strength to beat you.
Oh, yeah? We'll take on you and your mother. Won't we, Pat?
No, I don't think we will, actually. I'm feeling a bit run down, as it happens.
And I think there, it's a knockout. Well, in a moment we'll be playing Lonely Hearts, where our teams have to write suitable Lonely Hearts ads for celebrities.
Joe and Harry, we want you to think of ads for Vinnie Jones, Madonna, and the Nolans.
Pat and Hattie, we want you to think of ads for Mike Tyson, Cecil Parkinson, and Germaine Greer.
And for that, your buzzword is TARDIS.
OK, and while our contestants are thinking about that, we're going to play Higher or Lower, the section where our audience get to grips with a problem.
And the problem tonight is how to get perennial drug user Keith Richards back on the hit-making trail.
We've got Keith backstage, and we're going to give him a mixture of uppers and downers. Now,
by shouting higher or lower, the audience have to get the balance of drugs just right to get Keith back to his creative best.
OK. So, are you ready? You've got 15 seconds starting now.
Oh, he's driven his Rolls Royce into a swimming pool. Oh, he's slipping into a coma. Oh, he thinks he can fly. And time up, and let's see how Keith got on.
Well done. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well, excellent. After that brief respite, let's see how our contestants got on with their Lonely Hearts ads.
And remember, your buzzword is TARDIS.
OK. And,
naturalistically done, I thought.
Joe and Harry, you first. Can we hear your Lonely Hearts for Vinnie Jones?
Right, we've got wanted, girl with big knockers, what likes football. And poems by Byron. In brackets, my teacher helped me write that last bit.
OK, and for Madonna?
Our Madonna one is, oh, Sean, please come back.
OK, and the Nolans?
5 really nice, pretty and talented Irish girls seeking husbands, preferably with glasses, slightly balding. Comedian would be ideal, wears a dark suit, perhaps originally from Kent, about 28.
And called Harry Hill, maybe.
I think they're fantastic.
Let's move on now to Pat and Hattie. Can we have yours for Mike Tyson?
Caring bisexual recluse. 6 cellmate who likes it up the TARDIS.
Top invention there on the buzzword. And next one is for Cecil Parkinson.
Smooth, smarmy gent seeks woman taken in by oozing charm. Equipment like the TARDIS, it'll seem much bigger on the inside.
Very good. And for Germaine Greer?
I've got a Cecil one here as well.
Oh, sorry.
Slippery male member seeks secretary for usual duties, plus typing.
Very good. And finally, for Germaine Greer.
Female seeks eunuch.
Very good.
Aussie bird seeks hunk for leg over.
And over to George for the scores.
Well, so I think I'll give you 9.
Okay.
Joe and Harry, 10.
Very well done. Very well done. And in terms of the buzzword, I think Joe and Harry, for the brazen cheek of not using the buzzword at all there, you get to go through to the bonus round.
And for your bonus points, we want you to play It's a Knock-Up. Where Cecil Parkinson tries to knock you up, and you have to spurn him as best you can. You have to start with the sentence, surely, Cecil, contraception is a good idea.
Surely, Cecil, contraception is a good idea.
I've had over 70 letters.
But tell me, how many children have you had come up to you in the street and say, Daddy?
I've had literally hundreds.
It's a knock-up. Well knocked up, you two. So you double your points for that round.
Well done.
That's got to be good news, isn't it?
And it's time to stop grinning. Let's see who's winning.
Well, it's Pat and Hattie with 53 and Joe and Harry with 58. This is 1FM. Now it's time for a questionnaire, and we've got one of those questionnaires you find in the back of The Guardian.
This one was going to be completed by David Bowie, but he was too busy trying on suits.
So, Pat and Hattie, you've got to do his questionnaire for him.
And your buzzword here is has-been.
So, what would David put to the question? What words or phrase do you most overuse?
No, I'm not married to Imran Khan.
What's the word in this round anyway? I've forgotten.
Eh?
The special word.
Has been. You should know that, Pat.
No, I think we might have to dock a point there from Joe for that.
That's brutal.
Beyond the call.
And what trait in yourself do you most dislike?
I'll think of one.
That's what David Bowie would have put, isn't it, actually? And how would you like to be remembered?
On my knees for Freddie Mercury, I think.
Top skills.
Now, Joe and Harry, your questionnaire is for former Duncan Goodhuer-Graham, Sinead O'Connor.
Yes. You've got a different buzzword, you two, which is sensitive.
With which historical figure do you most identify?
Right, well, I would say with Sinead O'Connor, more a sort of amalgam of several. Che Guevara, Jesus, Saint Bernadette, Gandhi, and Telly Savalas.
And what is your motto?
Got any more sensitive ballads, Prince?
Good use of the word sensitive, excellent. What do you most dislike about your appearance?
Getting booed off at the end of it, I suppose.
Well, let's have some prime numbers for some prime answers there. So, 5 to Pat and Hattie, 7 to Joe and Harry. How are you going to unravel the buzzword?
Well, judging two different buzzwords is like comparing chalk and cheese, so I'm going to let them both into the bonus round.
Fair enough. And for your bonus round, following on from mottos, you've got to come up with some catchphrases for famous personalities.
For example, Pol Pot's might be turned out nice again.
And can you start by giving us one for Dickie Attenborough? Open to everyone, this one for Dickie.
The Gandhi Man can?
All you need is loves.
OK, and finally for Hitler.
You lucky Reich. You lucky, lucky Reich.
Let's see what you would have won. It's good night from me and it's good night from Himmler.
It's a lie, I've still got both of them.
OK, and top skills all round, so everyone gets to double their points for that round.
Well, Pat and Hattie have got 71 and Joe and Harry have got 75. On to our next round, blockbusters. Ooh, and that sound means the pubs are open.
So we've got to crack on, teams.
So it's blockbusters, where we give you an initial and you've got to let us know what it stands for.
For example, if we asked you what M is said to lie on outlying rocks singing haunting tunes that entice sailors to their deaths,
you'd know we were talking about Motorhead. So fingers back on buzzers and here we go.
And your buzzword here is ganja.
Right, what P would you end up as if you went out on the town with Oliver Reed?
Harry?
Perfectly entitled to your money back.
What C is Hannibal Lecter?
Harry?
Careful if he's not to get typecast.
Hattie?
Closet vegetarian.
Pat?
The C where the Bermuda Triangle is, because that swallows everything as well. I know.
Joe?
That was crap.
10 points off Joe's
And
score.
I said a word beginning with C. What do you want?
Fair enough, all right. 20 on Joe's score. OK, and next?
What A do scientists experiment on?
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Harry?
All days except Christmas and bank holiday.
What O is steadily being depleted?
Orville the duck's sphincter muscle.
I like it.
Family entertainment. Any more? Harry?
Oliver Reed's group of friends.
What D does Linford Christie take to make him run faster?
Joe?
Dong-reducing cream.
Harry?
A Datsun Cherry.
I'm going to give Pat and Hattie 8, and for a particularly good phallic reference to Linford Christie, Joe and Harry 9.
Where'd you get that dong-reducing cream, then?
I've had a look, Harry. You don't need any, mate.
OK, and for this final bonus points, I think both teams are going through, then.
Both teams are going through, Chris.
OK, so what you've got to do here is you've got to give us 5 correct answers, gold to gold. It's like a gold run, OK, in 30 seconds or less. So here we go. What MP is Giles Brandreth?
Mildly poncy.
You're on Pat. Hattie.
Mouthy Pillock.
Joe.
It's a bit of a tosser, really, isn't it? Sorry, no MP there.
OK, and
right.
next one is what VD does Bill Wyman carry?
Joe.
I reckon he's got the lot, hasn't he?
OK, and finally, what VAT does Norman Lamont get a lot of?
Pat.
Valium all the time.
Harry.
Very attentive Thresher's staff.
Well done. Yep.
Vamps as tenants.
Well done. Both teams get bonus points there. Well, we've had some fun. Let's see who's won.
Well, looking at the scores, Pat and Hattie have got 87 and Joe and Harry have got 93.
Right. Joe and Harry, you'll be pleased to hear that you win and you go through to the first international heat of Buzzword Sans Frontières.
Where you will meet Maurice Chevalier and Jacques Tati.
But Pat and Hattie, you go to the quiz show Limbo.
Where you will meet Les Dennis and Derek Beatty.
And of course, finally, as the more perceptive among you will have already spotted, if you arrange all the buzzwords...
Spud, Sydney's, Kidneys, Ganja, TARDIS, ostensibly has been sometime and wrinkled.
They form Graham Taylor's lineup for the next England match.
All that remains is to thank our guests.
Joe Brand, Harry Hall, Hattie Hayridge and Pat Condell.
We've been Chris and George. Good night.
Buzzword was devised by Chris and George and the producer was Phil Clark.